Welcome to Seeking Sustainability Live number 15. Thank you for joining us on Periscope and Facebook and YouTube and Twitch today. So if you have comments and questions along the way, make sure you join in. Today we have special guests from TokyoCheapo joining us. Let me bring them in. Thanks for joining, guys. You want to say hello?
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Do you want to introduce yourself quickly before we start in with the pictures and questions? Go ahead.
Sure. So I'm Kerry. I'm one of the senior members of staff at Fast Train Japan, which is the company behind TokyoCheapo and all the other Cheapo websites. And my role is content manager. I also handle affiliate partnerships. And this is my colleague, Mareike, who's our kind of in-house sustainability expert. I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah. My name is Mareike. I'm half Dutch, half German. I've been in Japan for 10 years now and recently completed my PhD, which probably put me into the role of sustainability officer at TokyoCheapo. And what we do is we obviously well known for giving cheap travel tips. But Cheapo is usually also very eco, because what we're trying to do is we want to save resources. So we thought we bring the two together.
Yeah,
and that's
fantastic.
what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, well, I went through and did some research on your Fast Train website, the head website, as well as TokyoCheapo. So we're going to go through some of the photos and get you guys to comment and talk about that, if that's okay.
Yep, that's great.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So we start with the Fast Train website. It has Tokyo Cheapo, Japan Cheapo, Hong Kong Cheapo, London Cheapo, and anything else? Basically those four, right?
For now, yeah, those four.
Yeah. And I noticed a lot of new articles for Japan Cheapo. So trying to expand kind of more outside of Tokyo into the Japan market. Is that right?
Yeah. So we are promoting travel to under-touristed areas. Obviously, Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, these are some of the big names on bucket lists. But we want to make visitors more aware of the cool stuff and beauty that exists beyond those areas. So we're trying to do more coverage of Tohoku and Hokkaido and Kyushu and all those good parts of Japan. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. In terms of sustainability, getting people to spread out makes so much sense, right? And this graph is from the Fast Train Limited website. You did your own internal research. And I'm glad to see Hiroshima has so much research, because that's where I've been based for a long time. And so it's really interesting to see there is a lot of interest for people to get out of Tokyo. Maybe second, third, fourth time they're visiting Japan, they've seen Tokyo, they want to see something else, right? Is that
definitely? And yeah, that's what we're finding, and they seem more confident in navigating their way around Japan, going to areas that maybe they think will have fewer English language resources. Whether that's actually the case or not, they're definitely more confident when they come back.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And then there was another interesting graph about what difficulties tourists have. Now, of course, tourism is kind of a big topic right now, because everybody's wondering what the heck's going to happen to tourism all over the world, not only in Japan, but basically tourism is stopped right now. But where I see the next step forward, and maybe for you guys as well, is domestic tourism is going to be the next step.
Absolutely. Yeah. Local, domestic, also regional. Yeah. So when we see the projections now is that we might not be taking cross-Atlantic or cross-Pacific flights so soon, but we can still travel in our own countries or in our own regions. So for example, for Europe, we have projections there's going to be a lot more train use than airplane. And in Japan, we have a fantastic Shinkansen system. So this is also something that might get more use in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I think people are just concerned, how is it going to be safe, right? How is it going to be safe in Tokyo, especially packed onto those commuter trains? I am pretty glad I don't live in a big city right now. You know, like going forward, even going back to work is a worry. But this data, I think, was from Fast Train last year. So what kind of difficulties do people have? Language and communication is actually getting easier in the most recent data, which was really interesting. Transportation is still difficult because of maybe getting around on trains is still not as easy as it could be.
I think it's just, it can feel a bit overwhelming just because, especially like Tokyo's, you know, train network is so complex. And you look at the map and you're like, oh my goodness, what is this? You know.
But one surprise for me at the bottom was how people are not having that much difficulty in restaurants. Right? Like, to me, that's like the number one. If they don't have an English menu, they have that beautiful kanji menu. How the heck is someone who doesn't understand Japanese going to do that, right? But maybe translation software, you know, on Google Translate, even the picture, and it'll tell you what it is. Maybe that's better now. I was really surprised to see that data.
And I think that sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say it's also, for example, I lived in Miyagi, so Tohoku, where we go, very, very local, under-traveled area. And I think it's just the Japanese omotenashi part as well, the hospitality, that even if you come in and you're like, oh my God, we don't have an English menu, what are we going to do with these people? They really, really try, or they will then get the translation software out and be like, maybe we can just suggest you something, or they show you something. So I think it's just, culturally you will be fine.
Yeah, well, great. I mean, that is a great general thing about Japan, is that you will find people who very, you know, honestly want to help you. And isn't that a lovely thing about traveling in Japan, right?
I think it's one of the main selling points.
Yeah. I think so many people, like me, for example, when I first came, you come for the nature, you come for the sights, and then you kind of stay for the people and the culture. Yeah,
definitely. And recently, I've been finding more information about how travelers are seeking out sustainable options, right? So the number of people seeking out plant-based meals, for example, not they're vegan or vegetarian, they're meat eaters, but they're seeking out plant-based options. People seeking out eco lodges or more sustainable hotels is 87% now. As of last year's data. I mean, 2 years ago it was 60%. It's increasing more and more. So the kind of information you guys are offering, which we're going to talk about later, is so useful if the writer comes at the perspective of, we want to offer you something that you want. 87%. That's amazing, right? So, you know, I hope to see more articles focused on sustainability, and the kind of articles you guys have that we'll talk about today. Definitely, please write more of them.
We will.
Yes,
awesome.
we will.
Awesome.
Most definitely.
Okay, we had a comment, Selena Hoy, who I think she's one of your writers. I saw some of her articles online. She said, except for vegetarians still. So yeah, it's still hard, you know, but Selena and everybody, we have some big news about what's happening tomorrow all over Japan. Anybody know? Major fast food chain is launching a plant-based burger, vegan burger, in all their branches across Japan. Do you know?
No.
Big scoop.
No, I missed
Most
that.
Burger. Check it out tomorrow.
Wow.
Most Burger's plant-based burger is launching tomorrow. Major news. Yeah. So that's the only chain. Awesome. That's the only chain in Japan that has something on the menu all the time, right? Yep. Paul says, slowly getting better. Slowly. Paul made the vegetarian guide for the Chugoku area, vegan vegetarian guide, so he knows.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, he just said today. The plant-based burger was today.
Oh, nice.
Okay, there we go. So get out there and try it. All right. Let's go through your website because you've got so much there. First, let's introduce your YouTube channel, which you're starting to do more interesting videos on the YouTube channel. You guys, either of you guys work on the YouTube channel?
I don't think you. I'll let Marika talk about it. I haven't had that much to do with the YouTube channel.
I just want to say the same thing. I don't.
Okay.
So I'm not a video person. I'm a writer. So,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I look for topics. I get sent on trips. So unfortunately, our video people are not here. Like for this, we're more consumers. But you can see, like for example, what you have popping up right in the beginning, the bike tours in Japan. Yeah. Like we're getting into the same topic there as well. Like how can we travel slowly, sustainably,
and
to
social distance,
travel places,
right?
Yeah.
That is the next big question everybody's asking, right? How do we do it? In the great outdoors, of course, is the best next option. And then space.
Yeah.
Driving because maybe better than public transport, right?
I think we are gonna see an increase in like car rentals.
I think so.
Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah. And smaller group travel. I think also people are going to be looking for information on how to do touchless travel. Like, how do we board a train without actually touching a ticket machine or the gates or something like that?
Well, people are already doing, what is it called? Digital money, right? Where you have your e-commerce or with your phone and you can go through the train gates. You have that happening around Japan. So it seems like it's already kind of happening. Hopefully it can continue the momentum. You guys had a lot of great articles about social equity. Now, social equity is kind of a technical sustainability term, but it basically means you're giving people in the community more value for their life, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have these like how to understand your appliance in Japan. And I love this article. I think this is great what you guys have done. So I especially like this picture. Do you know why? What appliance are we talking about? Washing machine, and it's a front loader, so uses less water, right? Mm-hmm. So even if you don't talk about this appliance particularly, just showing a more energy efficient, water efficient appliance, just showing it in the picture is still influencing the viewer's idea about sustainability. So it's it's
subliminal messaging in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that, and then also, as you said, like you're like, oh, this article is great. You're just helping people to make their life easier. Sustainability only works if the changes we are suggesting to people, if they're actually easy and manageable. Yeah. If I ask you to change your whole life tomorrow and it's a huge effort, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah. But if it's something that's like can be done with ease, then people will actually enjoy doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There was a lot of backlash about the zero waste movement, right? Because people are like, I can't. No, like it's
because
too much, too hard, right? So the idea,
you're like shaming people. Yeah. You're like, you're not at zero, so we need to get away from just like all or nothing. Yeah, like 0 or 100. Like, so what about in the middle?
Exactly. The idea is just a little bit better choices. Just try to improve a little bit whenever you can, right? So that's the whole idea of this series too, is to give people the idea sustainability is not too hard. Like we have lots of great ideas in Japan. Why don't you try some? So that's the idea, right? So this is the washing machine bilingual explanation. This was insane. Like I looked at this picture and I was like, this would help so much if you just came to Japan and you have a furnished apartment. You're like, what the heck? How do I, right? Even if you understand Japanese a little bit. So that's a great community service you guys are doing. I love that.
We hope that people will bookmark it, even before they come to Japan. And then when they arrive and they're setting everything up, they can just open it up on their phone and push the right buttons.
Definitely. Yeah. And then you have, like, if your another sustainability idea is to use your clothes, use your products for longer, right? And what do you do if you don't need it anymore? You can take it to a flea market. You guys have flea market information. You can sell it online. There's some, online sellers in Japan. So then you have this template for Japanese phrases to use if you're selling online. And I thought that was really nice. Maybe adding some furigana under might help.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, actually it is.
Because, if people really don't understand any Japanese, and then maybe they miss one or two words, and then the meaning would be very different, right? But if there's there's furigana, they know, okay, it definitely goes to the end there, or they could say it then as well, right?
Right.
Do you guys remember learning Japanese when you first came?
I remember. I had like picture guide, how to remember all the hiragana, katakana, so they were all turned into like little pictures. And even now, like 10 years later, when I walk through Tokyo and I see certain hiragana, I'm like, I still remember like the picture, like memorized always. Yeah.
A kind of funny story. When I first moved to Japan, which was in 2009, I was a very, very strict vegan. And so I learned some basic Japanese. I learned the names of vegetables, and I learned how to ask, does this contain meat? Does this contain milk products? So all of those phrases. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to the supermarket. I'm going to restaurants. I'm going to do this. And I rolled out my phrases. And I got these really fast answers in Japanese, and I had no idea what they were saying.
I know.
So I had carefully prepared all these questions, and I just had to guess whether people were saying yes, it contains animal products, or no, it doesn't.
Recently there have been more restaurants that have that standard chart, and it has, you like point, and it has it bilingually, and it has pictures, and so you can have more of a clear communication there. But that's so frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a good learning experience, I think, though, and it's really encouraging to see how much things have changed, even though the pace is slow. I mean, I agree with what Paul was saying. Yeah. I can see progress compared to 2009.
Oh,
I mean, I had
a
printed book of vegetarian restaurants, and that was it. That was all I had.
Yeah, and I think also what I really like is nowadays, before we had to go really, really specialized. You were like searching with your vegan booklet, or you had to go on Happy Cow, and only there you could find something. But now vegan, vegetarian has become oshare, so it's become fashionable.
Well,
but as you just said,
it's more understood, right? So so there's just a little bit more of a understanding somewhere back there, whereas before it was just like, what planet are you on? Like,
it was such a far out idea for people. Now we like brought it into the mainstream, and we made it a little bit more fun, which means like finally I can find products like this in like Kaldi or Seiyo Ishi, or even in my run-of-the-mill supermarket. I can find almond milk, so many different kinds of soy milk. Just like bringing it into the mainstream again, going away from the like you have to be all or nothing.
That helps so much. Of course, saving money and sustainability often go together. And you have this great information about shopping with the locals. Of course, local fruit markets, local fish markets, whatever, are going to save you loads of money compared to just shopping at convenience stores. How many travelers and new residents do I talk to who say they do all their shopping at convenience stores? And I'm like, it might seem cheap once or twice, but man, you don't know how cheap it is at local shops, right?
Yeah.
Like our local shop, we buy a lot of tofu, and you can get the big blocks of tofu for 50 yen. 50 yen. You know, you go.
I mean, that's a bargain and a half.
That's a bargain. Yeah, convenience store. You know, it's going to be more than that, and it's going to be tiny, and then you've got more packaging as well, right?
Yes. I was just going to say, like, it's the portions are tiny, so your value for money is definitely not as good, and there's just more packaging, more plastic involved. And the shop with the locals, like, just be brave. Like, walk into that tofu-only shop in your neighborhood that's run by a Japanese grandma, and communicate to her, you want this tofu, she's gonna be friendly, she's gonna make sure you get it.
Yeah,
like, just do
absolutely.
it.
Like yesterday, we were talking to Paprika Girl. She's a kimono expert, and she wears kimono every day. And she said that was the same for her when she first started wearing kimono. It was like an invitation to talk to her from the older generation women, and they would comment on her clothes, and she could practice her Japanese, and they would help her with something maybe she didn't get quite right or something, you know. So it's like, if you just ask people, it's like an invitation to talk to you, you know.
Totally.
Right? It's fantastic. This is also one of your other ideas about seasonal.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And in the picture, we can see bamboo shoots. Have you guys eaten bamboo?
Spring.
Yeah. I really like
it at all.
Yeah, I really like bamboo.
I love bamboo. I didn't know... Because it often comes in food, and it looks very different from the actual plant, right? Like this, the bamboo shoot.
Yeah, it's very square, the way they cut it. You're like, what's this like square, smooth thing?
But it's quite often in foods, like the pickles or the miso soup or something. So
or like mixed into rice. Yeah.
And if you're eating seasonal, you're probably also eating local. It's probably from Japan as well, right?
Yep.
So
and again, it's going to be both better for the environment and cheaper. Again, both at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, sorry, on the local veggie shop note, we were actually chatting with a colleague of ours yesterday, Lucy, and she shared the location, which we can share with you too, of this great sounding veggie market in Nakameguro.
Oh yeah,
near Junkielic, the Mexican restaurant. And apparently, you can get like 5 avocados for 200 yen, just like rock bottom low prices. And I haven't been personally, but as soon as the state of emergency is lifted, I do plan to go.
Yeah, that sounds great. Avocados are quite expensive. We did Seeking Sustainability. One was about growing your own food. And we had an urban gardener giving advice, and avid gardeners who were trying it themselves, and then a professional gardener. And I was like, so how can I grow avocados? I'm dying.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, unless you live in Okinawa, it may be kind of hard,
And it takes years,
right?
Too
bad.
But then once they get going, they just keep fruiting. You just got to get them to, be established, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm a big avocado fan. We have avocados now in Hawaii. I grew up in Hawaii.
Oh, so wonderful. Which island?
The main island of Oahu.
Oh.
Yeah, so also you've got another great page, Tokyo's top vegetarian vegan restaurants. Now I have to say, as someone who doesn't live in Tokyo, Tokyo's got it. Like, it's so much easier in Tokyo to find great vegan, vegetarian, plant-based options. So you guys don't know how hard it is down here. It's getting easier, but it's not as easy as Tokyo. But yeah, that's a great resource for people who are seeking out plant-based as well. Do you guys?
We want to expand that as well, going forward, and just keep adding to that.
That'd be great, yeah. Because I think, did I show that information? I found 40% of Americans are trying to eat less meat, and I think during this coronavirus, there's been so many problems with the meat processing plants because a lot of people had corona, right? So there's so much less meat available. So a lot of people, out of necessity, are eating plant-based, and that's better for the environment. So that might hopefully continue. But almost half of Americans are willing and actually seeking out plant-based options. So it's not only vegans, vegetarians, it's not that strict. It's a much wider market, right?
Yeah. And if you just look at the whole crisis we're in now, like, we know it came from a wet market, a meat market, and all the other ones we had before, bird flu, swine flu, SARS, MERS. All of this was connected to us consuming a lot of meat, and the more we do it and the cheaper we want it, the lower the standards for hygiene, which is not only bad for the animals and environments, now it's also bad for us. And that might just, in the end, it might just be a turning point.
That's right. So it not only inbound visitors, but in Japan as well. I think they'll be shifting diets for domestically. I saw one of the beautiful Shojin Ryori pages as well, maybe under that same listing. So that's famous for Kyoto, of course, but you can find it in other areas around Japan. Of course, you can find it in Tokyo.
You can.
Yeah.
If you go looking for it.
And actually in Hiroshima now, at the famous Buddhist temple on Miyajima Island, our most famous island, you can, if you order in advance, you can get their beautiful Shojin Ryori. It's like Shojin Ryori. It's like kaiseki ryori, so traditional Japanese food, but it's all vegan. It's all Buddhist.
Lovely.
Really beautiful and fantastic. You did an article on free range and organic as well.
Yes. Yep. That's one of our older articles, which we keep updated.
But the fact that you have links to places online is particularly useful right now as well, right?
Yeah, actually, I think when I wrote that, I didn't think of that. It's just like, but yeah, especially now these days. Actually, now I feel like, now I feel like I really want to update that, because there've been so many more places now, and also like more places that are accessible in English, or maybe even run by foreigners. Like there's a Dutch farmer like just outside Tokyo who delivers organic veggie boxes to people in Tokyo, and everything can be done in English. So yeah, there's a lot more is accessible now.
That's great. I think later I have a photo of one of the farmers markets, but I was talking to Joan Lambert Bailey, and she mentioned the farmers market that you have at United Nations, UNU, is it?
Yeah.
So that looked like a great one. But isn't it nice when an article you write before becomes so relevant, and then you can link it again or update it, like you said, it's already there, ahead of the curve. How fantastic.
We try.
Great. So in Tokyo area, this is from one of your pages, you recommend Second Harvest and so some volunteering activities.
Yep. So there seems to be, well, we know there is a lot of interest in giving back to communities, whether you're a resident of those communities or you're just visiting. So we wanted to try and share some easy ways that people can do that.
Yeah.
And Second Harvest, definitely one of the ones at the top of, I think, everyone's list for Japan.
That's good. So I think somebody mentioned the other day that they're having a bit of trouble because they often rely on restaurants to get donations of food, which they then deliver to people in need, right? And so the food supply chain has been disrupted. So even for charities like Second Harvest, I think it's been a big adjustment. But hopefully they can get direct from the farms, the things that haven't been sold, and deliver it on to people in need. There's been a big adjustment all over the world, of course, the food shortages, right?
Yeah.
But it's great that you guys had the information about volunteering and how to get involved if you were interested. Of course, you can donate as well to Second Harvest.
Yeah.
And then recycle shops. Either of you guys using recycle shops in Tokyo?
I do a lot.
Yeah, I do as well, all the time.
And I just love it when sometimes people are like, oh, I love those jeans. And I'm like, 500 yen.
I think
so. Selena just wrote a comment about Second Harvest. There's a much bigger demand to Second Harvest Japan, but there's a dearth of volunteers right now. So, of course, with coronavirus, less volunteers as well. So if you are willing and able to help out, get in touch with them. Yeah. Yeah, recycle shops, often you don't get much if you sell your stuff, right?
No.
But they'll give you a little bit of money. Maybe like for a big bag, you'll get like 300 yen or something. But the fact that you're passing it on to somebody else, that's the important part, right? Instead of throwing it away.
For sure. I mean, it's not really always about getting money. Sometimes it's just about shrinking your footprint, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of satisfaction in that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I just hate throwing things out. So for me, even if they give me 200 yen or 50 yen, I got one time for a bag of clothes. I was like, okay, thank you. And they were very surprised. They're like, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think we would just hate the feeling if, like, I'm going to throw this in the bin. It's like perfectly fine clothes. But again, also, I think it should show us, like, if you constantly like bring huge bags and all you get is like 50 yen or 200 yen, you might also want to like I probably also makes you want to reduce your turnover.
Yeah.
Your overall consumption.
Yeah.
Like, how many clothes do you really need? Why are you throwing out, a crate every season?
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that conversation with Paprika Girl about she wears kimono every day, it really brought it home to me about how kimono is so expensive and so high quality, but you use it for so long. And then you can really pass it down for generations. So instead of fast fashion, like what a big contrast, right? And then this was another article. You've got vintage and antiques. Of course, that's definitely a way to maybe not save money because it might be more expensive, but it's more valuable, right?
Absolutely. And it's just, it's keeping products in circulation and reducing consumption.
For sure.
And it's nice. I think people really enjoy, especially people, I think once they start getting to their 30s, maybe even late 20s, they start really appreciating the stories that come with objects. So, this thing that has existed for 200 years, like, it's kind of fun to imagine, well, who had it first and who did they pass it on to? Who made it? So there's a lot of richness in secondhand items.
Definitely, yeah. And those shops are so fun to walk around because they're items that you don't see in modern shops quite often, right? So that's really fun. Selena wrote, related, love Maraika's article on how to use merikari.
Oh, yes. Thank
you.
I didn't get a photo of that. I'm going to have to go back and search on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote first of all, how you can shop on Mercari and how you can sell on Mercari.
Okay. That was one of the shots about the phrases to use was the same article. Okay.
Yeah. How to sell and how to buy. So
yeah.
Because obviously we want to go both directions. And maybe very, very difficult if you just came to Japan. But even if you know a little bit of Japanese, like with a little bit of Japanese and the guide and Google Translate, you can absolutely do it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I think we want people to understand that it's safe, that they don't need to worry about their credit card or any kind of bank information being pinched. It's totally legitimate.
So I think Mercari has like sometimes not such a good rep in the US, which is the other country where it's big. But in Japan, like you consistently hear people only report good experiences. Like, for example, I bought very expensive Bose headphones. They will come to you in mint condition because Japanese people, they treat their things so carefully. Right. And if they describe their item as good as new or very slight wear and tear, it is as what they describe it like. So it's really, really good resource.
That's so true, isn't it? Like even Amazon Marketplace, you can get such good value items, right? Like really cheap, and delivery doesn't cost too much. And when it comes, even if it says a little worn, and when it comes, it's like, I would say that's new. Like that's such good quality. Like good job.
And then they like send it to you in like beautiful packaging. Probably kept the original packaging, kept all the pamphlets and everything. And you're like, the feeling is also the same as if you bought something new.
That's right. Yeah. But then remember that when you try to sell something, because if you're sending it and you think, this is like new, but it's really not perfect. Yeah. Be careful.
So you really you have to step up. In Japan, you have to step up to their Motai Nai philosophy, like don't waste, and to which also goes like buy something that's high quality and treat it nicely so you can either use it for many, many years or you can pass it on.
Definitely. Yeah. And this was another article. Somebody had gone to an area of Tokyo and found loads of wonderful made in Japan items. and craft items and stuff. So you guys are also featuring not the major shopping centers, which are easy to find, but don't have like generic stuff. But this kind of stuff, maybe it's more expensive, but it's more valuable because it's better made. It's made in Japan. It's higher quality, which I think more people are kind of seeking out, especially while they're visiting Japan.
Definitely.
Do you guys, have you been here? Maybe a different radar. It looks really interesting.
I think, was this Lily? Maybe this is from one of our sustainable souvenir articles.
Yeah, great. I can hear your cat behind you.
They've got opinions about sustainability as well.
Yeah, they're very opinionated. Thank you for your comment, Kitty. Also, urban walking routes. I really enjoyed finding that. That's a really nice article. And of course, that's something you can do right now.
Yes.
You can continue social distancing. I would suggest going out before 9, and then it's a lot less busy. Is that true?
Yeah. I would say so, or go out later in the evening, and especially like right now, I mean, it's pretty chilly, but we've had such hot weather before this little cold patch. Just it makes sense from every perspective to go out earlier or later.
Yeah, definitely.
In the day.
I usually,
I find
even before COVID, I was telling people, if you want to avoid crowds, get out and to where you want to be before 9 a.m., definitely, and after 4 p.m., because the peak time any destination is going to be 10 to 4. That's like when everybody goes, right? So, sorry, Marika.
At the moment, during the COVID crisis, I find it's very heavily dependent on the area. You could go on a Sunday afternoon to Tokyo Station and the area around the Imperial Palace and be very, very empty. Or you could go to a local area like where I am. I'm right between Sangenjaya and Shimokitazawa. And it's so crowded around here. So you might be surprised. There's these like crowded pockets where you like, do you people know that it's like state of emergency? And then other areas
what's happening
deserted.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, you just, you don't know, right? Who is, one of the talks I did, somebody was talking about this, because years ago I went to a tourism expo and they had a speaker from Docomo. And Docomo was talking about, we have everybody's cell phone, we know where they are. So they have information, right, about where are the crowded areas.
Yep.
So if Google or some, buddy can put that information together for the user, then like navigation, like GPS, we can know which streets to avoid crowds, right? Or which destinations are already busy. Okay, I'll go another time, right? So some parts of Google Maps, they do that
they already
a little
do that.
bit, right? But they don't tell you what street to go down if you're walking. Not yet. But I think that's coming. I think that might be coming soon. The
I
technology.
wonder, I guess it's just a question of data privacy in different parts of the world. But
then again, I just read a funny Twitter post today where someone said like, oh, now we have all the conspiracy theorists that are saying like, don't you see with the COVID, they just want to get a chip implanted into you to track you while you're furiously typing on your device that's already tracking you.
I think, they obviously already have that data, so might as well make it useful for us, And this was the UNU Farmers Market that I mentioned. I think Selena also wrote for your website. She wrote about farmers markets. So this sounds like a good one. I think farmers markets like this, they should be able to continue because you're outside. Maybe you can social distance. If you wear a mask, you can stay 2 feet away from each other. Right. But it's getting to and from is hard, right? Yeah, and then I guess, maybe if they set it up like they have, done at many of the supermarkets with like, the stickers of the feet, like to make sure that people aren't crowding
they're standing far enough apart when they're waiting to pay or choose veggies. I don't know. But I really hope that these markets can start up again soon, at least in some capacity.
Yeah, I hope so. I know one of the farmers who's joined our Seeking Sustainability Live, and then he was talking about dyeing and organic materials, textiles the other day. And he's been doing farmers markets here. So they are still going ahead. Yeah. So hopefully they'll continue and find a way to be safe. I saw one of the volunteer activities you guys were listing was the Tokyo River cleanup as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And the next date, we do cleanup here in Hiroshima as well, but the next date for us as well is August.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Wow. His next date is August. It's just hard to organize groups when you don't really know what's happening, right?
Yeah. The uncertainty,
You want to be responsible, right?
Yeah, but I think the more, like right now, we are learning so much, and we have so much comparison values from all these different countries. Like, oh, this country's doing good, and this country is doing not so good. And we can look at what they did, and we already found out a complete lockdown is not always the perfect answer. So we're learning so many things, like which precautions can we take that we might even, or that we are able to do things like a river cleanup. Again, we just need a little more time to plan.
I've been encouraging people who did volunteer for cleanups to do plogging. Have you heard of plogging?
What's that?
It's jogging when you pick up trash.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, plugging.
So I go out and I do my exercise. I have my mask on, and usually it's kind of sad, but usually I do find a plastic bag along the side. So I don't even have to take my own. You just find a plastic bag and then you just start picking things up. Just make sure you wash your hands, because quite often now you will find people's discarded masks.
It's a bit sad. Like last year, the whole world as a unity championed the idea of less trash, less single-use plastic, and now we're like, I don't know, we threw that whole idea out of the window.
It's really hard now, because every restaurant, you want to support the restaurant, but they've transitioned to takeout. Takeout has more trash because they have to, right? If you're doing takeout. Yeah. It's really tricky right now. So I'm really hoping that more places that have local, very loyal customers, that they start a reusable container type of system. You know, like in Japan ages ago, you used to see the mopeds driving around delivering food, and they would have the ramen on the back of the moped, right?
Oh, and they always have the spring to keep it balanced.
Exactly. And it would be a real dish. And then after you ate, you put it back outside your house, and then the staff would come and pick it up again later. So that is something they used to do in Japan, but now they don't do it. It's not as convenient, right? But
I still see that. I still see like people get the sushi delivered, and then like my neighbors would have the sushi dish set outside the door to be picked up again.
Good.
So it's definitely still exists. I think there might be a slight concern right now with COVID, that if somebody would bring just their own container and they're like, hey, can you put this takeaway food into my own container, that they may be a bit wary, like, I don't know how well you washed this. But I think one thing we can absolutely do is, you're taking this away, you bring this to your home. You do not need a plastic wrapped oshibori. You don't need that little towel. You do not need chopsticks. You do not need the plastic bag, or you do not need a million napkins. So at least just take the bento and leave everything else.
We can minimize it.
For sure. It's all about just making better choices when there is one, right? That's really important. So some of your outside of Tokyo articles in TokyoCheapo, is it? TokyoCheapo?
Cheapo, that's
right. Things to do and see in traditional artsy Izumo, awestruck natural wonders. I mean, it's great to see you guys branching out outside of Tokyo. I'm really happy, because there's so much to explore and enjoy, you know?
There really is. Every time I leave Tokyo, I am reminded just how much there is out there, And I always think to myself, it'll take like 100 lifetimes to see, or maybe 100 million lifetimes to see all there is to see in Japan.
Yeah. Marika, how about you? You enjoy traveling outside Tokyo?
I do. So I'm a marine ecologist by training, and what always draws me is the ocean, of course. So I go a lot to all of the beaches around Tokyo. And right now, like, I love the islands. I love Hachijojima. I love Kuroshima for diving and free diving. It's not possible right now because we still have to wait a little bit before we visit the islands to make sure it's really safe. But I think a lot sooner we can already visit the beaches around Tokyo. For example, if you go to Onjuku, I promise you it's going to be the most beautiful beach you will have in the Kanto area, comparable to Okinawa.
Wow.
Yeah, it is really
nice.
lovely.
Yeah.
And there's a historical Nakasendo Trail, riding the Hello Kitty Shinkansen, which is so popular. for kids of all ages, love that, right?
Yeah.
And then
including one of our bosses.
Oh, really?
Surprised when you wrote that article.
And then I was looking at capsule hotels. I've been wondering about the future of capsule hotels. On the one hand, I think they're probably have more chance than the backpackers. The backpacker places and the dormitory style is probably going to be hard for a while. But I'm wondering if capsule might actually be possible going forward, as long as it's clean. It's the common areas, right? Is tough.
It's tricky, right? I think the main consideration is how safe the capsule hotels or any kind of accommodation provider can make their customers feel. So whether that means only having, every second pod occupied, and then common areas like very well ventilated and hand sanitizer everywhere, or whether it's some other actions that they take. I think the main thing is just like, how safe can they make the people feel? And if they can make them feel safe, then I think they will still get bookings.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Joy. Like, a capsule hotel offers a lot more distance and opportunity for isolation than a dorm room.
And usually about the same price, right? So if you're talking about saving money
3,000
and cheapest option, that it might be the one that continues. I love this article you did, going somewhere and making udon and going around in a canoe. Where was that?
That was all.
Isn't that your article?
It's mine. It was so much fun. So the son does the walking tour, and then you will make udon with the dad, and tempura was the mom.
Nice.
So it's like a family business. And so the kayak tour is just it's Tamagawa. It's like 10 minutes from Shibuya. And if you go at sunset, it's so beautiful. It will make you forget you're still in Tokyo. And the udon making experience is just a little further, Musashino area. So you're also still just half an hour from central Tokyo. We really do not need to travel far to have great experiences and new experiences.
This is one of the areas that's like under touristed, people just, it's not even on their radars. And we worked with a partner on that to try and change things.
Yeah, that's great.
As I said, this is 30 minutes from central Tokyo, and you'll see beautiful temples, the birds are singing, you will see the mountains in the background, and you'll meet local people.
Yeah, fantastic. That was Seeking Sustainability Live number 10. I was talking to Kevin Meyerson, who's in Karuizawa, and he said it's only an hour from Tokyo. Like, what? And that's Nagano, and it looks like he's in the middle of the mountains, but you can. From Tokyo, it's really easy access to get out to these places, right?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're making your own udon. So, of course, you can cater that to vegans, vegetarians quite easily.
Yeah, super easy. The tempura as well. I mean, as you see, just take off the shrimp and you got it. Yeah,
that's great. Looked like a great trip.
Yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed that one.
I was a little jealous. I had to stay in Tokyo. Marika was sending updates and
You'll
photos.
get the next one, right? If you have a good boss.
We're very fair.
We are.
Everyone always gets to go somewhere. Yeah.
This was another nice article you had about Echo House, Echo Lodge.
Yes,
Run by a young couple that moved out there.
Yep. Byron and Kari Nagy, they're actually friends of ours. And they're doing some interesting things. They've actually also started an organic veggie delivery box service recently. And this place is fantastic. Like, we had a retreat there, and it's really a great chance to recharge in maybe 2 hours, not even an hour and a half away from Tokyo by train. Pretty easy to get there.
And
if you're looking,
they did a beautiful job with the remodel. So
yeah, they really did.
Of course, to remodel an old house, not only is it more environmentally friendly, but you're maintaining that heritage. And not only heritage important for local people, but heritage is attractive for visitors, right? So you've got that both benefits. And I love the black burnt wood, which is an old heritage style, which you often don't see even in rural areas. So that's so beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's really lovely, and it's got like a great wooden smell. I don't know how to describe it, but it's fantastic when you're there.
The new wood. So you did get to go to this one then?
Yes.
Good.
We all did.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. That's great. And I think I've gone through maybe all the pictures that I had from your site that I wanted to talk about. How about you guys? Do you have any favorites you want to suggest for the last few minutes?
Oh, I think so. Me and Carrie, we wrote an article together, which is sustainable sushi. And I think that needs to be on everyone's list who comes to Japan or is already in Japan.
Yes, because there's certain kinds of fish which you should avoid. And can you give us a summary of your article?
Okay, I'll give you the quick summary.
Okay.
Sustainable fish is very, very difficult because you don't always know where it came from. So I can't tell you never eat this species or always eat this species. So it's difficult. And again, we can't be 100%. But let's try to do as good as we can. And one thing is, if you remember the 3 S in your sushi choice, the 3 S stand for small fish, seasonal, and silver. So seasonal, maybe you don't always know, but for example, sanma, Pacific sauri, it's this like long needle-like looking fish, very popular in Japan. When that is in season, you can eat that. Then small is good. I know tuna is very popular, but unfortunately I have to tell you they're not doing really well in the ocean, especially bluefin tuna, and they have a lot of bycatch. So I would encourage you to avoid eating big tuna and maybe at least go down to smaller tuna, which is bonito or katsuo, to be smaller. And then silverfish, like for example, we have sardines. And we have mackerels. Those are a lot more sustainable. That would be the quick summary, how you can identify something that's sustainable. Yeah.
Of course, also to remember that you can explore the vegetarian options at sushi restaurants, like the umi budo, the sea grapes, and maybe mozoku, the pickled seaweed dish from Okinawa. And then you got your natto sushi if you're feeling brave. The cucumber sushi, the pickles, all of these things are great. And the tamago yaki, the egg. So we would really encourage people to not just be like, okay, I'm going to Japan, I'm going to have tuna sushi, but kind of think beyond that.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. And there's definitely more variety at sushi places, I think.
Absolutely.
Than you realize. So, definitely eat seasonal. And eat local and eat smaller fish is safer, right?
Yeah.
And then I didn't have a picture of that. I'm really sorry, but I've got your eat local and eat seasonal, and you've got your great article about organic and free range as well. Yeah. Any other advice for people who have just arrived in Japan that you would think, on your website, is a good article to check out? We have the appliances one, which I really like. Any other articles you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, I would recommend one more is how to reduce plastic waste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Japan is still a little crazy with all their PET bottles and plastic bags. And so this article also, for example, gives you phrases how to say to the cashier, like, I don't need a plastic bag in Japanese. Things like that. I think that will also be very, very useful. Like, how to refuse a straw, how to reduce plastic, how to refuse it if you don't want it anyway. Yes, also that one, Mizu. Yes.
Bring your own bottle. Yeah, Mizu is a great app to help you find where to refill, especially as it gets hotter, right?
Yes, especially now. Yeah.
It's like, even if you did buy drinks from the vending machine, how many would you have to buy? Because it's so hot. You have to drink so much, right? So I carry my own, right?
And it's like 100 or 150 yen each time. So again, we're like
it
saving
adds
money
up
as well.
Yeah, it adds up.
Yeah,
exactly.
We always say cheapo is eco, and it sounds a little cheesy, but it's true.
It's often true, right?
Yeah.
That's why I was so excited to talk to you guys, because I knew we would have so many things to talk about. When you're saving money, it's often more sustainable. But sometimes when people are thinking only short term, then it is a bit confusing, right? Like the idea of buying something higher quality that you're going to use longer, but it's more expensive. It's going to save you money down the line.
Right.
But I think that's a bit hard sometimes for people to kind of, like, I only have 5 NGGen right now, so I only want this Daiso product instead of the vintage product, which I'm going to use for 20 years, right?
Right. And then maybe it's a case of, not feeling so stressed about that, but buying your Daiso product now, but then also starting to save for a better product, so that when the Daiso product wears out, you don't have to replace it with another one. You can then upgrade to the the better quality item.
That's
not that there's. I mean, actually, we all love Daiso.
Yeah,
we do use Daiso,
and I hear people who have left Japan asking me to send Daiso stuff, and they say I use it for years, but I use it for a long time. As long as you're not using it every day, different, and throwing it away, right?
These like silicone wraps from Daiso. So instead of using cling film, you can reuse these silicone wraps to cover your food and put it in the fridge. I've had them for years.
Or
so not all of it is bad.
The beeswax runs. I'm gonna talk to Marissa next week, and they make those beeswax wraps. So we'll be talking about that. Awesome. Chris has now written a comment on YouTube. Thank you, Chris. Did you mention the MyMizu app yet? I mentioned it very briefly. MyMizu, you can download it. Now they have an Android version. Yes. Awesome. It's on iPhones and Android. So yes, download it. You can find your refillable station. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Any others? How about you guys? You guys always carry your own cutlery, coffee cup, water bottle, and eco bag. Yeah, the set, eco bag, right?
Yeah.
It like fills up my whole bag, but I usually do it.
It's been so long since I've eaten out at a restaurant.
You have everything at home.
Like right now, I don't carry anything.
It's just I walk to the kitchen and get the cutlery out the drawer. But I think one more article that I'd like to mention is, we have quite a clear stance on. So we try to respect, multiple different views on sustainability and animal welfare, because everyone's different. But within the company, we have a very clear stance on animal cafes. So we only promote cafes that can be deemed cruelty-free. And I think for people who are just moving to Japan or who are here just for a short-term visit, it's often tempting to just go into the nearest cat cafe or,
owl cafe, even worse.
And so we have put together some alternatives that people might want to read through, and maybe they can find, a happier place to visit.
That's really good and important point. And that's something I've suggested to Google a few times, is that they have, you know, when people write their reviews, that they have some kind of standard for places. It's not just an opinion. If people are saying this is cruel, that's more than an opinion, right? That should.
I'm sorry, it's a scientific fact.
Yeah, so you know, there should be some kind of, I don't know, ranking or some kind of icon if somewhere has been certified to care for the animals properly or something, right? Like we would love to see certification rankings on Google. That would help a lot. So if you guys have that policy that you only promote places that are cruelty free, that's great to know. Do you have that information on the post? Clearly?
We do. So we're not like, we're not spoiling your whole fun, and we're not like, don't go to the cat cafe. So we're recommending cat cafes that are adoption facilities. So you can go and meet the cats, and then they're up for adoption. So these are rescues. You're not obliged to adopt them. So even if you're a tourist, you could still go and hang out and have the same experience. But you know that these are cats that they were not bred just for this purpose, and they're going to be rehomed.
Yeah. And I think, you know, because sustainability, it's not just about, you know, carrying your own water bottle or trying to eat more plant-based, you know, local meals. It's really like it kind of affects so many areas of our lives. And if you look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, like protecting life on land and life underwater, human rights. So it's kind of like we try and incorporate all of those things.
Exactly.
It extends to animals.
It's wide and far-reaching, right?
Yes, exactly.
I always explain it as people, planet, profit, because you need to have profit to continue as a business, right?
Right.
Yeah. And otherwise, it's not economically sustainable.
And you
it needs
need
to, go
to
hand in
take
hand.
care of people, not only the planet, right?
Yes.
But you need to take care of the planet, otherwise there's not going to be any people. So I mean, it's too simple, but it's people, planet, profit, right? And so we have to end. So I'm so glad that you guys have that very clear understanding in all of the websites that you're doing. And thank you so much for joining today and for discussing all of these great articles that you've done. And
thanks very much for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure.
Good. And I definitely recommend to anybody that's looking for information that you guys are a great launching point, whether you're a resident or a visitor or thinking about future travel in Japan. So check you guys out. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining and for all the great comments. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, we are talking with Tere Koko. She's a vegan baker in Okayama. So please join us tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.